Peter Fischli and Ku Xiong'a and Nikolaus, that for the first time a sort of a first spark for the idea of this pavilion was born. So it's wonderful that Nikolaus is here. He's an architect and a curator based in Frankfurt am Main. He was the rector of the Städelschule and the director of the Porticus, has taught at the AA and in Pennsylvania. And his many works include, of course, his own architecture project, also a lot of projects which have to do with such laboratories of knowledge as we're developing it here, his Cyber Mohala Hub, as well as also his collaboration with William Forsythe, who spent a lot of time here with us in the pavilion yesterday. His recent books include On Boundaries, Track 17, and Institution Building. Please give a very, very warm welcome to Nikolaus Hirsch.
Thank you, Hans Ulrich, for this invitation and, of course, having this wonderful pretext. The topics, Cedric Price and Lucius Burkhardt, both in a way questioned the very notion of planning. This is a bit the starting point for me in this short presentation. Kind of critique of planning towards a non-linear, more open, very often almost accidental strategy. So this critique of planning, what do I mean by plan? According to Aristotle, the essence of the discipline of architecture lies in foreseeing and determining a future end state, a telos. The primacy of telos is based on a procedure that predetermines and subordinates the various elements of a building. The architect, in that sense, is much more than a technician. Following its Greek roots, he's an architect, meaning someone who deals both with arche and techne. He establishes arche, his strongest weapon in a way, which is more like a principle, like authority. The basic instrument of the architect is the plan. Essential is the double sense of it as an accurate description of the layout of a building and as a means of controlling the future. This is what is inherent to all architectural operations. Plan designs an object, unifies diverse, often very contradicting factors into one language and establishes control towards the future, to a future end state. We talk about a project that becomes a projection thrown into the future. Though today architecture sometimes seems more like an anachronism, like a built anachronism, like an inert object with serious problems to adapt. To pose the question is today how to build in an era without telos. To pose such queries is already to displace architecture with architectures in plural. It is to transform a tradition into a site of translation. It is to render the potential universality of a project particular and specific. So the question is, how can we render such a situation in a critical way? Not as a product of a hermetic system, not in terms of signature or authorship, but rather as a ritualization into specific situations. So the question to me somehow in relation to this given theme at the Swiss Pavilion is how to get rid of the architect's most powerful weapon, authority, an authority that guarantees authorship as such. How to build doubt, how to lose control, or how to share. The project I will briefly show is the land workshop. The land was initiated by Riprese Tiravanija and Kamin Lecce-Passet as a self-sustaining environment for an artistic community. The land is located in the northern part of Thailand, close to Chiang Mai, and is a place for discussion, experimentation in the fields of culture and agriculture. While the land is inherently a rice field and a garden, freely accessible to all, it also supports a number of spatial constructions that may be utilized in a variety of ways. Shelter, for sleeping to kitchens, cooking, etc. And there are a number of artists, some of them also present here in this pavilion, like Philippe Pareno, and then other artists like Tobias Rehberger, François Roche, Rico Teronidze, and Superflex that have been constructing projects at the land. The most recent project that I was asked to conduct and realize by Rico Teronidze is a project for a studio, a large workshop that will be situated in this blank site. And the question, in a way, for me was how to actually invent a structure that could be shared and authored by different architects, different artists. So in a certain way, I'm somehow pulling back from a position of the single authoring architect to someone who might be described as a hybrid between an architect and a curator. So in that sense, we try to dismantle the building, its different elements. So you could see a certain reference, actually, rather accidental, to Rem's approach here at the Biennale with the elements. So it's almost like taking a building apart into the different sections of a building, like from foundation to structure, roof, facade, interior, infrastructure, which has as a reference the very well-known experiment or game invented by the Surrealists, Corps Exquisite, or also known as Cadavre Exquis, which basically is the drawing of a human figure or of a figure made by different authors by actually folding a paper. This is actually a drawing by the daughter of Nikolaus Mark, who has spoken here before. So we kind of segregate the different elements of the building, and we will successively invite different architects and artists, starting with the foundation, with an engineer, also for the structure, with Klaus Bollinger, continuing with the roof, then the facade, always inviting different partners, very often also academic partners, and the respective architects and artists. So there will be unforeseen scenarios, of course, and so to a certain extent, it's almost like complicating the building process to include the accidental, to include phenomena or designs that I could not invent, basically. So I will probably be the main victim of that process, as the one who has to negotiate with all the collaborators. But this is, to a certain extent, the attempt to create a workshop building that is made out of a series of workshops. So it's a workshop of workshops. One of the structural questions is, of course, can we provide or invent a structure that can be adaptable for events that we cannot foresee right now? So therefore the question is, can columns walk? So we're working on a structural system where we can actually remove the columns and therefore allow also the authors that will come later to actually manipulate the space as much as possible. So here, very small, this is not a design, it's just an example of how we think the space could be. We extended this approach of a collaborative form into a new alphabet that for all the publications of the project will be used. It's an alphabet that has been designed or initiated by designer Zach Heis, and we invited a number of artists, writers to send us letters. So you see letters by Hans-Ulrich Obrist here, Ed Atkins, Joan Jonas, and many more. Or Elephant Feet by Rax Media Collective for an M. And this was then converted into a new alphabet, which finished here with the land workshop. Thank you so much.